Hi and welcome to today's product keynote. Those keynotes are always a moment for us to reflect on the latest and greatest that we delivered in our product. But they only matter if you're equally excited about them as we are. We're going to start off with the foundation, the DAM product. We have built a number of enhancements which will simplify managing assets in Frontify. We also cover automations which help you bring in AI capabilities, but also in general give you more options to automate your work. We're gonna show you how everything connects using the ecosystem and also what we're cooking in the Frontify kitchen. All of this will be shown with real-world examples, so we make sure that things like AI capabilities are not only nice to have, but they truly make your life easier on a day-to-day basis. So with that said, I'm gonna hand over to Julia, who will walk you through the bits and pieces.
Hello everyone, my name is Julia and I will be your host for today. I will be joined by different members of the Frontify product team and we will talk about what's new in the platform, why we built it, and also why you should care. Each section will come with very specific actions that you can already start using and benefiting from today. For those examples, we will use our fictional brand Pizza Pie, which we chose intentionally because it's a very clear and simple example that will hopefully make it easy for you to replicate with your teams what we're showing you today. And with that, let's get started. The DAM space has been changing a lot, and especially the expectations from large teams have shifted. What, from your experience, have been some of those shifts?
I think over the past couple of years, we've seen the DAM shift from being a static repository to more of an intelligence brand management hub as well. So today's DAM is not only about storing assets, but actually understanding them. This is done through intelligent metadata, better governance, and more scalable asset distribution as well. So teams want to know, where are the assets living, how are they used, and how do they need to evolve?
Nice. So you're basically talking about a more dynamic DAM, is that right?
Exactly. And dynamic DAMs for us is about extensibility, for example. So being able to have a best-in-class DAM on our own as well, but also integrating with, for example, content and rights management and PIM tools or creative tools. And the DAM becomes a backbone, connecting everything from creation to management to delivery of your entire brand as well. And second of all, automation and intelligence sits at the heart of the DAM. So we let the platform take care of metadata enrichment and taxonomy management as well. And this allows users to reduce manual work and just focus on creativity and execution instead.
I know that a lot of you guys are managing your brand across multiple markets, teams, and touch points. And that can obviously bring a lot of challenges with it. At Frontify, we've started to talk more about brand orchestration. Would you mind explaining what that means to us?
Sure. Brand orchestration for us is removing silos. It's not only about silos between people, but it's also the silos between tools. So we're looking at brand orchestration being one authoritative source where we bring people, tools, processes, and teams all together to work on everything brand related. So brand strategy, brand guidance, and also brand assets. And this allows everyone to work wherever they do on brand consistently.
We also have seen a lot of customer momentum recently about them asking for more stronger governance controls as well as that unified system. What are some of the things that have been resonating well with our customers about how we're approaching this next era?
Scalability is key here. And it's not only scalability about what the platform can support, but it's also the scalability of how things work as well. Because the reality is that assets today can live in various different DAMs and various different tools. So it's crucial for us to be better at scalability and support better governance, and also understanding that user experience is crucial. So one area that we're investing in is remote assets, where we allow assets to be stored elsewhere, but managed, enriched, and distributed from Frontify.
Super exciting. Can you show us some of that in practice?
Absolutely. Let's start with a quick look at the library overview. Right away, you see what's new, what's expiring soon, and what needs attention. A fast, intuitive snapshot that lets you understand the health of your library and assets at a glance. Jumping into the new library settings, you'll see how deep brand governance goes. Licenses give you granular control over how assets are used and by whom. Let's create one called EU Marketing. And with the new license visibility on asset download, you can ensure the right people see the right usage rules at the right time. Now, let's upload a large batch of assets. Why not make it 25,000? Before we start the upload, we can assign metadata, tags, and the license we just created, keeping everything structured and searchable from the moment it enters the DAM. And because the predictive metadata automation is running in the background, custom metadata fields fill in automatically after upload. You get the accuracy at scale and consistency without the heavy lifting. That's the shift we've been building with our DAM, moving from a static repository to a dynamic engine, one that works with you, not against you. Now, let's switch gears. One of the key parts of brand orchestration is to be able to create on-demand, high-quality animated content. We're happy to announce that you can now create truly dynamic campaign assets. You can take a static Figma template and add animated content to it just like that, with no motion design skills or tools required. Not just static images, but animated banners, GIFs, and HTML outputs. And it's as easy to set up as it is to use. Imagine you're a marketer who needs to update their animated ad banners so you can have new variants available. This is brand orchestration in action, enabling teams across the business to create on-brand, high-quality, self-service content faster than ever before.
We've already seen how automations can bring your assets to life in your DAM, and the possibilities of what you can do here really are endless. But what we've seen with customers is that most people don't actually start with the complex workflows. They start with the more simpler tasks that quietly drain most of their time. The most popular use cases that we have seen are setting custom metadata, updating workflow statuses, and adding tags to assets. Today, we'll show you 2 examples of Frontify customers that have started with the basics and have quickly seen the big impact that automations can have.
A lot of our customers are using Frontify automations to handle repetitive tasks in their DAM, like applying metadata or setting workflow statuses automatically. It's changing how brand teams operate on the day-to-day. One of my favorite examples of this in action is with my client, Wintrust Bank, a financial institution that supports 16 chartered banks and more than 200 local branches. Their marketing team is responsible for creating and distributing materials for every single branch, all branded and localized. You can imagine how complex that gets. With Frontify automations, that entire process has been streamlined. When they upload new materials to their Frontify libraries, that triggers automations to instantly tag and organize assets based on their file names, then assign them to the right charters collection. No manual sorting needed. What used to take hours now happens in moments. They also built an automation for compliance. So around 75% of their materials have start and expiration dates. Now, when the assets are uploaded, they automatically enter a draft workflow status, then a controlled user reviews them, sets a go live date and the expiration dates, and once those assets are approved, the automation takes over. It publishes the assets live, updates workflow statuses, tags everything accordingly, and then expires the assets automatically when the expiration date hits. This gives the team complete visibility and ensures expired materials never make it to market, all while maintaining analytics and records for reporting and audit trails. It's a perfect example of automations not just saving time, but actively reducing risk. For me, this is what's so exciting about the future of brand management. Automation as a real enabler of trust and creativity. When the heavy lifting happens behind the scenes, teams can focus more on strategy, storytelling, and the end user experience. And as we keep building out what's possible with Frontify and AI, I can't wait to see how our clients keep innovating from here.
From working with pets at home and from my knowledge of working in brand governance and originating brands, the touch points for brands are becoming more fragmented than ever. So with 12,000 assets, writing the descriptions, I can't even think, so maybe it would take a minute to write each description. That's still 12,000 minutes, whatever that equates to. It's a long time. The speed is the main thing that it changes. So some of the files would be over 100 megs. So you'd have hundreds of TIFFs for prints that get blown up to billboard size. So they need to be really high res. And uploading that takes a while. It meant that we could write automations during the day, upload all the files overnight, and then by the following day, they would be all there and accurately attributed to all the different meta tags. One automation which made it really was imperative that it happened, otherwise it would have been days and days of labor costs, was the descriptions. And to do that, it was really simple just to add an automation that's triggered on asset creation. So when an asset is created, which is uploaded, it would then trigger a series of events. And it's a really simple system because I'm not a programmer. On uploads, get OpenAI to look at the image, write a prompt. And the prompt was provide an adequate, really good description of the image. And then that would get attributed to that asset ID. Write that asset ID out in the description panel, and then that would then populate the description field. One of the biggest challenges with the assets working with pets at home was there's so many and they're quite diverse. So when people are trying to find these assets for social media or for print, all those attributes need to be listed so they can find them. Looking forwards, it's just trying to make sure that a brand is accessible, so accessible as in everyone can get the media and get the assets really quickly so that all your staff are brand advocates and therefore can make a difference.
Many of our commerce customers work with large product catalogs and across multiple sales channels. And we know from working with them that it can be very difficult to keep product information and product imagery up to date. Why is that?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest pain points that we hear from customers, and that's because product information and product visuals not just live in different systems, but they're owned by very different teams with different priorities, different tools, and different timelines, right? So you can imagine that once you're dealing with thousands of products across tons of different channels, keeping everything aligned manually becomes pretty much impossible, right?
What do these teams need in order to orchestrate their brand and their product content efficiently and effectively?
So the teams there need solid and governed workflows, which means clear ownership, clear approvals, and the confidence that once something is approved by someone, it will show up across the different workflow systems that they have. Brand teams want consistency, product teams want accuracy, and e-commerce teams want conversion. So getting all of those priorities moving in the same direction can get quite tricky if you don't have good workflows that make the difference, right?
So let's put this into practice. Let's imagine we have all our product visuals in Frontify. How do we then avoid things like inconsistencies or duplication once those assets start to move downstream?
When we connect Frontify with your PIM, you let each of the systems do what they do best, right? You use Frontify as your place where your assets are on brand, they're accurate, and they're approved. And you let the PIM stay the source of truth for the product information.
So we're essentially providing a smooth handoff between product and brand.
Exactly. Let's take a quick look at Akeneo, one of the PIMs that we integrate with. Let's open the Pizza Pie library in Frontify and update this t-shirt. We just got a refreshed product image. Once you upload the new version, we can switch to Akeneo and you'll see the image has already updated automatically. Akeneo pulls in the Frontify CDN link, so every connected system stays up to date without any manual effort. And if you need more control, this thing can also run through workflow approvals. Here in Akeneo, hovering over the product image and the CDN link attribute shows it's already pointing to the latest asset from Frontify. So whenever something changes in Frontify, Akeneo stays perfectly aligned.
So we've seen how product data and brand assets come together within Frontify. But what brands really need is for those assets to then power their digital endpoints. How does the DAM and media delivery work together to achieve that?
You know, the big change is that media delivery is no longer a separate black box. We now provide the hinge between the DAM and every digital experience. And because we control the full chain end to end, so, you know, from the assets in the DAM to the pixels on the page, we can now guarantee the consistency and simplify the full workflow, basically.
So if a brand has their assets in Frontify, how do they then get to their digital endpoints like the website, the store, the app, whatever it might be?
So it's very simple, brand, e-commerce, and marketing teams globally, they keep using Frontify as usual to organize their assets. And developers, they get CDN links that they can plug into their websites and applications. So, and thanks to the media processing API, we can serve all the derivatives they need in the right format, the right size, the right compression. Everything is done on the fly. So no pre-processing, no file duplication anymore. And we also provide what we call dynamic CDN links, meaning that each time you update an asset in the DAM, it is automatically updated on the digital endpoints.
So when it comes to brand orchestration, it's all about creating a smoother, more consistent workflow. How does media delivery help global teams move fast while also staying aligned?
The key point is having one pipeline from the DAM to every channel. So, we provide media delivery infrastructure as a service. So high availability, global CDN. You have no complex setup, nothing to build, nothing to maintain, no folders full of outdated assets or stuff like that. You get performance and best practices by default, no matter the traffic and no matter the load.
And we're talking about quite a few different teams here, right? What effect does this have on collaboration between the brand team, the e-commerce team, and also the development team?
Yeah, the big change here is that everyone is using the same system. So what we provide is a kind of a shared delivery layer between marketing and IT. So marketing teams, they use the system as usual, they control the content, and developers, they get all the tools they need to offer the best possible user experience. So great performance and great visual quality.
Amazing, sounds great.
Let's see that in action with our Pizza Pie website. So we use Frontify dynamic CDN links for each of the images on the website. This means that if you want to update D0 visual, you just have to update the image at Frontify. Let's switch to Frontify, go to the revision section, upload the new picture and wait for the image to be processed. And with a refresh on the website, the image updates. So no code update, one stable URL that always serves the latest version. For web experience, performance is critical, especially in e-commerce. And you only get there if your images are optimized. So properly compressed, a next-gen format like WebP, and a CDN to deliver your assets to the end users. Frontify does this automatically on top of your DAM assets. But to look pixel perfect on every device and get the best possible performance, you need responsive images. This means offering several sizes and sometimes different crops for mobile, tablet, and desktop devices. If we open this hero image in a new tab, you see our CDN link with our media processing API parameters. As you can see, we can change the focus point, the aspect ratio, the size, or the quality on the fly. For example, we can request a 16:9 aspect ratio and a 800 pixel width. Now, let's move to the shop. All product data comes from the PIM, and thanks to the integration, it sends us Frontify CDN links for the product images. In the DAM, we store each product photo once in high resolution and with a 4:3 aspect ratio. And we use the media processing API to properly crop, resize, or apply one of the 30 available transformations like background removal or product refit, for example. With these features, one image in the DAM becomes every variance you need on the web.
just explored how teams organize and deliver their assets, but using them consistently across markets, that's where the real brand maturity comes in. So what role do guidelines play in enabling this?
Guidelines turn assets into actionable behavior. They explain how to use an asset and not just what exists. If channels, markets, teams multiply, they basically ensure a common interpretation of the brand. They become the organization operating system for any branding and marketing activities.
So could we assume that if that information is structured in the right way, we're basically building the basis for true brand intelligence? So opening up the doors for teams to use AI in a meaningful way?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I would start actually coming from a customer perspective. What we hear from customers more often is that they are asking us on how they can transform their guidelines, their brand portals into something that is more than a system of record. And here AI comes into play. So AI requires structured brand rules to provide meaningful and on-brand output, all of which we already have in the guideline. So investing into having guidelines AI-ready makes them the source of truth also for their own LLMs and even their specific AI agents.
A lot of the teams that are watching today are working across multiple markets and languages. What are some of the challenges that they are facing in achieving all of this?
They face localization challenges. So if you need to update and maintain multiple languages, that takes a lot of effort and is costly. So a lot of customers, they default to English-only guidelines. Then global guidance doesn't always map to local realities. So local teams need the flexibility to adjust. And finally, brands evolve fast. And to keep them up to date, this requires cross-team collaboration and continuous iteration.
Very exciting. Do you have something to show us today?
Yes, I will introduce you to AI translation. And now adding a new language to support your local teams and markets basically only takes a few clicks. The new action toolbar is the entry point. Before running a translation, I can add a custom prompt, such as do not translate pizza pie, always keep it exactly as written. This is to protect key brand terms. The feature lets you scale guideline localization with minimal operational effort. This makes translation continuous, fast, and consistent. And you can even leave a comment for native-speaking colleagues to review. This keeps a human in the loop where it matters. Now let's move on to Copilot and an API that we just built. Recently, we introduced the Guidelines Content API. It's our first step towards a fully portable brand. It allows brand rules to move beyond Frontify and directly use them in the tools our customers use every day. Our first integration is with Microsoft Copilot. Here, the pizza pie guideline is connected to Copilot. Let me ask, what is the tone of voice of the pizza pie brand? Copilot instantly retrieves the real guideline rules. The benefit? Teams get accurate, up-to-date brand guidance right inside their daily workflow and without switching tools or searching manually. This complements the assistance we provide on our platform. It's making our customers' own AI tools more meaningful, more accurate, and more on-brand.
Flo, can you give us a recap on what Frontify Kitchen is and what excites you about it?
Yeah, so Frontify Kitchen is this little corner on our website where we share some of our explorations with new ideas and technologies. And, it's a little bit like a test kitchen where you walk in and then you can discover all these ingredients and techniques and recipes and eventually try some of the new dishes. But, some of them don't taste right, but some do and eventually make it onto the main menu. And opening up like this lets us have conversations with our customers about futures that don't exist yet. I think what excites me most right now is just the sheer amount of technologies like large language models, vision language models, and even new Frontify APIs. We have all these powerful tools, But really, to make them useful for our customers, we need to find a good configuration.
I know that, for example, one of the things you've been looking into is collaboration, and specifically how we collaborate around creative work and where those processes slow down. What's kind of the fundamental challenge that you're trying to solve here?
Even if you have your do's and don'ts documented, mistakes still happen, right? That's why reviews and asset approval workflows are really useful. But at the same time, they can become a bottleneck. And it's not so much that the review itself takes so much time, but it's everything around it. The waiting, the context switching, the back and forth on minor issues like a wrong color or a color contrast that is off, or using an old logo or font. I don't know about you, but being a nitpicker also doesn't feel great, neither for the person giving the feedback nor receiving it. And the fact is, our customers spend a lot of time with these reviews, and we think that we can automate parts of it. But the challenge is really to have the right context to do it.
First of all, I relate to being a nitpicker. So you mentioned context. Would you mean that the context on what correct looks like for the brand would then come from the brand guidelines versus workflows, for example, is where you then review the assets?
Exactly. I mean, if you want to provide meaningful feedback, you need to have the right context. You need to know the project, the brief, and what guidelines apply. And if you think about it, we now have machines that like to read documentation any time of the day and don't care if it's updated a lot. With vision language models, we can identify what's in an asset, like text, images, logos, disclaimers. And so we naturally started wondering, how could we use this technology to look at assets and see if they follow the rules or not? And this led us to our first app, the Brand Check, which can review assets and then look for issues based on your guidelines. And we saw the potential, but we were also wondering, how could we bring this closer into Frontify, like into your existing workflows? And yeah, that eventually led us to Specs.
I'm sure everyone is wondering right now, what is Specs?
Yeah, so Specs is this nitpicker. It's the one who knows your guidelines in and out, knows all the rules, has a sharp set of eyes, maybe wearing glasses like me, but really knows everything in and out. And you can ask Specs to review your assets and get feedback on it. But instead of chatting with Specs, we found that Frontify already has much better interfaces to integrate all of this. So here's how it works. You invite Specs as a reviewer to your project, just like any other collaborator, which gives you control over what it can see and do. In your project, you create review workflows with statuses like design review and set up checklists with tasks in natural language. For example, to check text for spelling and grammar, review logo usage and placement, or check for fonts after rebranding. Then you assign Specs directly to specific tasks. The cool thing is you can reference specific guideline pages, include assets as references, or even delegate things like disclaimers to the legal team. So when assets come in, Specs analyzes them, leaves comments about issues, and even makes suggestions with references to your guidelines. And of course, it checks off the task. So whether it's issues with fonts, colors, images, or text, Specs will find the issue before anyone else.
So it sounds like Specs basically catches the tactical stuff that previously would have slowed people down, and then delegates it to the right people where needed. I can really see how, for a creative director, for example, that would really be useful because they'll be able to focus more on strategy rather than things like disclaimers.
Absolutely. And, if you think about it, there's even more potential to move this earlier in the process. So if Specs can review work in progress before it's even submitted, even better. So really what we're trying to do is speed things up, reduce the back and forth, and ultimately make more time for human judgment and creativity.
That sounds really exciting. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
We spoke a lot about brand orchestration today and what it means for us, which is managing an entire brand across multiple tools, teams, and touchpoints. Thank you to all the members of the product team who joined me here today to show us how we're enabling that for brands, and to also give us a glimpse into what direction we might be going in next. This, of course, is not where the story ends. The team is already working on the next big ideas, and of course, that's where you guys come in. Product development does not happen in isolation, but in close collaboration with our customers and our partners. So thank you for your input and feedback. It is hugely appreciated. And with that, I'll hand it back to Roger.
I personally love to see all those things coming to life, and I hope you're gonna really get a lot of value out of them on a daily basis. So we showed you a number of things today, starting with the DAM foundation, going through automations, the ecosystem, and the Frontify kitchen. It's a lot that we did to follow the vision to really provide you with the infrastructure to enable all of your people to do brand work collaboratively and efficiently. And for that, we're going to show you a recap of everything that we shipped in 2025.
Check it out.